You and I have both seen magic casters do 1 billion damage. And after doing less damage than the fighter and using up our resources, you know that's time for a good old nap. Call Lightning is one of the spells that we're going to be focusing on inside this Baldur's Gate 3 build today. Now, this is a great ability, not only due to it being an AOE spell that we're able to upcast and do a lot more damage with, but also due to the ability that once you cast it once, you get additional turns where you don't have to use a spell slot to do a bunch of damage again and again and again and again and up to 10 turns. If we want to get this ability as fast as possible, we're going to have to go into 6 levels of Storm Sorcerer, or 5 levels into Tempest Domain for this specific build, but we also want to feel strong as we're progressing. So here's a quick glimpse of the level 5 Tempest Cleric. If you look at the skills, most of these are supportive, which are cool. And if you want this for your party, you can go ahead and go with that. I personally like to be able to do big old damage, and none of these spells inside the kit, up until you get Call Lightning, have lightning or cold damage as a part of them. We are going to mix it up a little bit. All starting with the Sorcerer class, with a focus on Charisma and Constitution. And you can pick whatever race or background that you want to play around with. Wood Elf and Wood Half Elf are good because you get extra mobility, as well as immunity to get put to sleep, outside of Eye Bite, apparently.
Hey yo, look who fell asleep first. Prank him, John. You already know.
Gnome is also a good race due to its advantage on Intelligence, Wisdom, and Charisma saving throws. I just have a phobia of getting thrown off the map. For the Sorcerer subclass, you can either go with Draconic or Storm. Storm, if you really want to fly around, you can go 1 level into this. I would recommend Draconic Bloodline because you're able to get access to a whole bunch of really good spells. We're going to go with the Blue Lightning Ancestry so that we can get Witch Bolt, which is going to synergize the build early. But a lot of these spells are really good. Burning Hands is a good AoE. Grease is amazing for CC. Tasha's is also good. Just click through these, see which one you want to play around with, and you can play off of that. For our catchers, we're going to take Shocking Grasp, which is going to give us a decent little amount of damage. Friends is going to be good for when we're trying to get advantage on conversations to try to persuade some individuals. Minor Illusion works out well when you're trying to set up some explosions and or just moving people around to where you want them to be. And then Firebolt, we need something to go ahead and detonate those explosions. So we got good old Firebolt right here. Spells, we're going to go with Chromatic Orb. This can change into many different elements, such as Lightning, which is going to synergize really well with the build. Magic Missile, which is going to be our skill that's going to allow us to hit 100% of the time. It's going to allow us to pick off enemies that are low HP, as well as do good damage to somebody else, or just blast one person. Shield is something that we'll pick up later. Since we don't have too many spell slots, we want as much offensive power as possible, and we're going to have enough AC to not really get hit too much anyway, and we're going to be kind of spaced out early game. Second level, we're going to go into Tempest Domain Cleric. This is going to give us Thunder Wave, which is going to be pretty good AoE. Fog Cloud, which is good for when you want to go ahead and steal some things and obscure the overall vision of the map. And then Wrath of the Storm is a pretty good little reaction, get you some extra damage. Out of these cantrips, the one that is really going to help you out is going to be Guidance for those ability checks. Light is solid. It's going to work in tandem with this ring right here to give you that extra damage. And then I really didn't use resistance at all, but it does have some type of value to it. Shield of Faith is going to be good for giving us that additional AC. And our concentration is going to be a little bit harder to break because we get that additional proficiency from the Sorcerer. Sigil is a pretty decent spell for when you don't want to get jumped or you want to stop somebody from getting jumped. And then Command is always a good spell for getting enemies to drop different things. You can pick up their weapons afterwards. Bless is cool as well. And then instead of using Create or Destroy Water, instead we're going to use Water Bottles. And since we have martial weapons, we're going to be able to dual wield the hand crossbow guns. And then we're able to shoot the water cannon, which will apply wet to the enemy that we're fighting. And then we're able to blast them with the Chromatic Orb lightning damage and get a big fat old number off of them. Level 2 of the Tempest Cleric, so we get Destructive Wrath. Going to be some pretty good maxed out damage. Level up again, we're going to pick up Hold Person as well as Shatter. For our feet, we're going to go ahead and go with the Ability Improvement. From here, we can put some points into Charisma and then go on to the next level. So we finally made it to level 6 and we finally got our Call Lightning. Now the problem with this is that it's scaling with our Wisdom modifier because we learned it off of being a Cleric. So if we were to cast this onto an enemy, our chance of doing full damage is rather low in comparison to our good old Witch Bolt, which has an 80% chance of connecting, while Call Lightning has a decent chance of it doing half of the damage that you wanted to do. So we're going to end up hitting this good old respec. So our stats are going to look like this. For our feat, instead of us going with ability improvement this time around, what we're going to go ahead and grab is going to be Warcaster. And Warcaster is going to make it easier to keep our concentration, so that way we'll be able to cast our Call Lightning and keep it up throughout the whole fight, ideally. Alright, so now we're at level 7, and we have 6 levels into Cleric. So at 8, we're going to respec again. Now we're finally going to be able to build out our Sorcerer, because we'll have 6 levels into Storm Sorcery, while we'll have 2 levels into Tempest Cleric. You can go with the 12 Dexterity or the 14 Dexterity, 14 if you're running with the Medium Armor, or 12 or lower if you're running with the Heavy. You don't need a bunch of Wisdom anymore because we're not using Wisdom as our Call Lightning modifier. So 2, we're going to go with Shield, we're going to go with Twinned, and then I have honestly never used any of these other ones. Careful would be good, but you could just not aim at your friends, you know. That is also a pretty good option. We take Shatter here because we don't have Shatter from our Tempest anymore. Grabbing Light from the cantrip since we don't have Light. Grabbing Hold Person. And for our feat, we're going to end up grabbing the Resilient and putting the 1 point of Constitution. So this is going to give us our proficiency there. Currently, the last class that you added is going to be the spell modifier that's used for Call Lightning. So in this case, we added Cleric first, and then we're going to go ahead and add Sorcerer, which unfortunately means that we're going to end up losing out when it comes to the proficiency already inside of the kit. And you can't just do Sorcerer 1 and do Cleric and then do Sorcerer again, because it has to be a new class that is added to the overall build. We'll take Lightning Bolt. And then at this point, we can go ahead and replace Magic Missile. And we will grab Counter Spell. And we are back with Call Lightning. And here you can pick whichever one you want. Scorching Ray will be a good offensive option, or you can even pick Magic Missile back up. So at level 9, we're going to respec again. This time we're going to pick Wizard up first, then go 2 into Cleric, and then 6 levels into Sorcerer. One cool thing about the Wizard dip is that you can pick up any Wizard spell inside the game. One of the more notable ones is going to be Conjure Elemental, where you got this little guy. I guess not so little guy, but you got this man walking around. Does some pretty decent damage, and also can just eat up a bunch of good old hits. Another good one is the Water Myrmidon. And then this one's really dope because you can end up splashing good old water, like you saw at the beginning, and this will cause wet to all the enemies. And then it has some pretty decent damage, but you need to connect it, which is pretty hard to do in typical cases. So at 10, we can either go 2 into Wizard, or you can keep on going down your Sorcerer path. Sorcerer will give you access to Wall of Fire, Polymorph, and a couple of other good spells they can play around with. But if you did go down Wizard, the ones that really pop out that can help you out a decent bit inside of a party going to be Evocation. So your scope spells can not shock your allies to death. And Divination is good because you can reroll the saving throw of an enemy. So when you want to do your maxed out damage, you don't have to worry about it getting halved. Or you can just reload the game. So we're going to go ahead and level up our Sorcerer. We picked up Wall of Fire. And then for our level 8, you can pick up another spell of your choosing. You can go with Polymorph. And for your last few, you can either go Ability Improvement, Dual Wielder, or Warcaster, which is a little bit redundant now since we have so much proficiency. Here's a snapshot of our level 12. We went Fighter first, so that way you go ahead and get the Constitution proficiency. You can either rock this helmet or this one, but we have a bunch of options that I'll go ahead and show for Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3. But this is what the final build, or one of the variations of the final build, can look like. Here's some gear they can use for Act 1. If you use the Cold Brim Hat in combination with the ring right here, you're able to cause the condition, which will give you Encrusted. And this will apply a dexterity disadvantage for the saving throw. So this is really nice. For Act 3, you got the helm, so we can't get crit or stunned. You get a little bit of a heal to work with this so that we get our attack rolls and saving throws increased. The special save AC. We love some damage reduction. Spellmight, this additional 1d8 is applying to our cantrips, and Call Lightning becomes a cantrip. It's going to give us an additional charge of our Channel Divinity that we're able to do max damage a bit more. So this is currently broken. You keep on casting Chain Lightning with this. I kind of wanted to future-proof the build a little bit, but in all reality, you can just spam this broken weapon. You can run this shield right here, or you can go with this one. Or you can dual wield between this staff right here and the Staff of Spell Power, or this staff right here, as well as the good old Spell Sparkler. Gemini Gloves doesn't do anything for us, unfortunately, when it comes to Call Lightning. And then you can use Quick Spell if you want to mix it up a little bit. And then Rhapsody, you want to use it to stack up your attack rolls as well as your spell save DC. It doesn't have to be anything that's actually alive to get the stacks, but you will have to be able to kill it. So that Bull Shank was not the play, but the stool here. Alright, so we're inside of Act 3. This is the Mirror of Loss, which we're able to increase our charisma by an additional 3. We got our +1 from Auntie Ethel's boon, which you get from defeating the Hag, getting her nice and low, and then you get the additional 1 because he lets you choose what your reward is. And then you're going to click through these options, and I'm pretty sure it's random. I've gotten it at different random times.
The dark. The huge mirror, the mirror. You must surrender some part. You still that a foreign. You embody a whatever the dark. The huge mirror, you must surrender the gaps till a foreign disappointment floods your mind.
So this text right here is the one that you're looking for.
Succeeds Spellmight, but Lord Enver Gortash has stolen your support. The memory of the dark.
That gives us our +1 or +2 with the boon.
Like a great dark eye.
We're going to pass a religion check with a character that's better fit for this than what I have. First try. Huge.
Feel a presence, dark and ancient. The mirror. You must surrender some part of yourself.
And picking up one of these.
A foreign. Your mind is whatever the dark mirror. The huge mirror stare. The mirror. You must surrender some. The gaps in you still there. You feel the It seemed where once the mirror showed nothing. There is now something.
And I get a whole row.
Memories.
You can go ahead and buff your good old stats. This last one's charisma here.
From the minds of others, adore the memory, the dark mirror.
And just like that, we have our +4 to charisma. So one thing I almost forgot about is the Heart of the Storm passive. So this activates in a 6-meter radius around you. And this 4 damage you can actually scale up using these gloves right here. And this is good because you can pick off an enemy that's close to you with low HP and get your activation of your Elixir of Bloodlust if you do have one on. And we did 11 damage, which is actually pretty decent.
strengthen the cause. Walls, but hold your applause. Squirm, squirm, for now down here come the claws.
Lives, all mortal lives, expire. Souls go to their dooms in the lake forevermore.
Fools, fools, how hard you have fought. Brave, brave, but it's all been for naught. True souls that couldn't be bought. Doomed, detected, and caught. No more deals, it's over. The final act, you're doomed. No more grace, it's over. This house of hope. You're doomed.
No more debts. With its master gone, the house is nothing more now than an empty carcass.